If you want to retire in as little as 7 years, even starting from zero, there are only 3 numbers that matter. Most people overcomplicate it, chasing the next hot investment or waiting for a windfall that never comes. But if you know how much to spend, how much to save, and how much you can earn, you can control your timeline and walk away decades before the average person. Hi friends, I'm Diane. I spent 15 years in finance and consulting, advising everyone from the World Bank to private equity firms. And here's what I learned. The wealthiest people don't guess about their money. They use a system. I learned that lesson the hard way when I was suddenly let go from my job within just 17 minutes notice. That shocked me and made me realize I didn't have a plan for my own life nor my family, let alone a plan to be financially free in 7 years. So I built one. And now I want to show you the exact system I used to calculate my walkaway number, the amount you need to be work optional. So in this video, we're going to go through the 3 numbers that determine how fast we can retire, the real math behind early retirement, and how to start today, even with zero. So grab your coffee and let's map out how we can become work optional in as little as 7 years. Because this isn't just about retiring, it's about freedom to work because we want to, not because we have to. Now, before we go deep into the numbers, I want to share a brief history of how retirement came into place. It started largely as a political intervention, starting with Germany's Otto von Bismarck in the 1880s, who created the world's first state pension to maintain social stability. This idea crossed the ocean and was formalized in the US by the Social Security Act in 1935 during the Great Recession. The government set the retirement age at 65 to provide a basic safety net. And for a long time, retirement was a company-driven system. You worked for the same place for 40 years and they gave you a pension. But that system started to change. In the 1970s, as companies moved away from pensions, the burden of retirement planning shifted to individuals. We were given tools like the 401k, but we still didn't have a simple way to invest. Then came a revolutionary idea from a man named Jack Bogle, who founded Vanguard. He pioneered the first low-cost index fund, which made it possible for anyone to own a small piece of the entire stock market affordably. With these new tools, the math behind early retirement became a reality. In 1994, a financial advisor named Bill Bengen published a study showing that if you withdrew 4% per year from a balanced portfolio, your money would likely last 30 years. This was stress tested by the Trinity study in 1998, and the 4% rule held strong. And in 2012, Mr. Money Mustache, some of you might know him, popularized all this academic research and made it a little bit more practical, boiling down early retirement to one thing: your savings rate, the percentage of income you save. So what's the takeaway? These aren't magic numbers. They're just tools built on decades of data and made accessible for all of us. And we get to choose the ones that actually fit our life, our goals, and our risk comfort. Retiring in 7 years comes down to just 3 numbers: what you spend, what you save, and what you earn. Let's get into the heart of this. First is your spending. This isn't budgeting. I'm talking about your actual lifestyle costs. The math is simple. If your annual spend is $40,000, your freedom number is $1 million. If your spend is $80,000, you'll need $2 million. This is based on the famous 4% rule in action. The moment you hit 25 times your annual spend, you're no longer dependent on a paycheck. As Morgan Housel says, saving is the gap between your ego and your income. So let me show you why your savings rate is probably the most powerful lever in the game right now. Once you start saving more than half of your income, the timeline to financial independence collapses. A 10% savings rate will take around 51 years to retire, but a 50% savings rate gets you there in 17 years. And if you hit 75% savings rate, you can walk away in as little as 7 years. Now, let's go a bit deeper on this frugality movement, what you might have heard as FIRE movement. Financially independence, retire early. And there's several flavors of this. First, you have lean FIRE, and this is for those who embrace extreme frugality. They aim for modest annual spend of around $25,000 to $40,000, which means that you can achieve financial independence with a smaller portfolio, typically around $600,000 to $1 million. And it offers ultra-fast exits, but requires a tight lifestyle. Second, you might have heard of Fat FIRE. In contrast, Fat FIRE is for a more comfortable, high-spend lifestyle of $100,000 or more. This requires a much larger portfolio, often around $2.5 million or more, but offers more luxurious flexibility. Then you have Barista FIRE. This is your hybrid approach. You save aggressively earlier on to cover a portion of your expenses, then work a low-stress part-time job to cover the rest. For an example, you might have a portfolio large enough to generate $20,000 per year and work part-time for the remaining $20,000 to spend. This gives you early freedom without full-time work. Last but not least, coast fire. With this strategy, you save aggressively early in your career to hit a specific number, your coast fire number. Once you reach it, you stop saving entirely and simply let compound interest grow your portfolio to your full freedom number by traditional retirement age. This allows you to work a lower paying job, lower stress job for decades without financial pressure. You don't have to figure this out all alone. If you're serious about creating your own financial freedom and want a step-by-step plan tailored to your specific situation, I'm here to help. For a limited time, I'm offering free one-on-one clarity calls. I wish someone was there to help me through the process, and so now I'd love to help this community. So you can book a call in the link in the description box below. But let's be real here. Saving 50%, 75% of your income is incredibly hard and can feel almost unsustainable. This is why the most powerful lever of all isn't just cutting, it's income. There's only so much you can cut from your budget, but there's no limit to what you can earn. And I think the real secret to early retirement is not just being a frugal saver, but becoming a powerful earner. When you focus on increasing your income, you widen the gap between what you earn and what you can spend, which makes your savings rate climb more easily. So how do you do it? There's a few key things that you can immediately do. First is to negotiate a raise. Don't wait for your boss to offer. Do research on sites like Glassdoor and PayScale to find out your market value. Build a case based on the value you've created for the company, not just on how hard you've worked. Second is to monetize your skills. Think about what you're good at. Can you turn that hobby into a side hustle? Can you offer freelance services in your spare time? This not only increases your income, but also gives you a safety net and new skills. Ultimately, your income is a reflection of the value you provide to the marketplace. And the more valuable skills you acquire, the more you will earn. So focus on becoming indispensable and the income will follow. Now, here's a rule of thumb. Every time your income goes up, save at least the first 50% of that raise. Let that growth fuel your freedom, not your spend. This is how you widen the gap between the pain of feeling extreme frugality. Now, there's no limit to what you can earn, and this part matters even more in today's world. While AI is a massive opportunity, it's not a threat to be feared, in my opinion. It's a tool to be leveraged. According to McKinsey research, AI is set to completely transform knowledge work. So how do we get an edge? In my opinion, I believe these are three things that will help us get an extra edge in the new age of AI. The first is to become digitally literate. I think now more than ever, becoming digitally literate is a skill set that you have to master and that there's no way of going around it. It will make us incredibly more productive. In order to stay ahead in a productive mode with everyone else, you have to become digitally literate in these types of tools today. So the first you can use is basically using ChatGPT to draft emails or thinking about these LLM models as part of your daily workflow. Because if you don't do it, everyone else will do it and you're going to fall behind. So you want to be digitally literate as most as possible. The second is to embrace the creative space. AI now handle many repetitive tasks, which frees up time and budget for more creativity, critical thinking, and innovation. And I believe this creative space hasn't been fully cannibalized yet, and it's being supercharged. The third part here is becoming an independent. So in a world where AI can produce endless content and information, human judgment, sense-making, and critical thinking, I think will become the most valuable skills. We become the trusted agents for our clients or our partners or employers, using AI to do the tedious work in our unique human skills, our judgment, our sense-making to provide more of the direction. So let's make this real. Imagine a common scenario, a person earning $70,000 a year. They're saving 10% of their income, which is the national average, or about $7,000 a year. Based on our FIRE math, the person would need about 50 years to achieve financial independence. That's the traditional retirement timeline, and it's long. But what if we started pulling our three levers that we discussed today? The first lever is spending. Remember our discussion on expenses? So let's say this person audits their big three expenses and are able to reduce their spend by just $500 a month, about $6,000 a year in savings. They've just now doubled their savings rate without a raise. This simple change from 10% to 20% savings rate has a massive impact. It cuts their timeline down from 50 years to just 37 years. Now we've just shaved more than a decade off our working life by being intentional with our spending. The second lever is income. Now let's add an income boost. Let's say this person uses their skills to negotiate a $10,000 raise. Following a rule of thumb, they keep $5,000 of that to improve their lifestyle a bit and save the other $5,000. That single raise combined with their original savings and spending cuts boosts their savings rate to over 30%. Their timeline now just dropped from 37 years to 28 years. So you can see the snowball effect. By being intentional with spending and aggressively saving a portion of our income, we can accelerate our timeline from over 50 years to under 30 years. And if we want to get to that 7-year timeline, then the math shows we need to save 75% or have a 75% savings rate, which is a difficult feat, but maybe achievable for some, and more power to you. So everyone, it's not magic. It's about a series of conscious, intentional decisions that stack up over time, turning decades of work into years. But this is what I feel. Wealth isn't about retiring to do nothing. It's about having the freedom to choose, to work on things we care about, to spend time with people we love, and to design a life on our own terms. The path there isn't some complicated hedge fund strategy. It's 3 simple numbers: spend less, save more, and earn well, and intentionally. You don't have to do this alone. So friends, if you're interested, I'm having one-on-one clarity calls with this group in this community, achieve their walkaway number, and to design a life that's based on their terms. The link is in the description box below. See you in the next one.